Okay, so I have a confession to make. I didn't really plan to ever teach this class, but Vara, who's doing the votes and the class themes, she asked me like, "What do you want to teach as a class?" She said, "Just pick the old ones that you find, like my usual classes, and put them on the poll for this was for the Estonia camp." And I didn't even look at it, and I was like doing other stuff because she's taking care of all of that. And then I look at the schedule after it's printed, and I'm like, what is this? Spin to win. What the fuck is that class? And apparently she found it on like 2015 Copenhagen camp or something. And I was like, what is that class? I don't even remember it. And I was like, shit, I have to do something else because I don't even remember what the class is. But then I talked to someone and said, yeah, I did that class in Copenhagen 4 years ago, and it was really fun. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And I did it in Estonia, and I think it was pretty fun. And then, okay, I'm never going to do it again. And then I forgot to tell Vara, and who could have known? It was the class that got the most votes again at a camp where I only get to teach one class. So screw this. I have to do this class again. It's just by far the silliest class I could possibly come up with. Because I usually teach like very conceptual, like very, very simple classes. If you've been to other camps, you know this is what I do, and this might be doesn't get more opposite than what I usually do. But in a way, it's kind of fun for me to try and do something different. So, I don't even know where to start this class, but I'll see if I can remember it from Estonia. I do a lot of like weird things in jiu-jitsu, which usually when I like to teach, especially a group like this, I like to do something that I'm fairly sure that everyone can use after the class, or at least they can kind of take it and remember it and build on it. So it's something really simple, like I always teach about like head up, butt down, and elbows out, and all this stuff. This class, I'm fairly sure most of you will probably never pull it off, but I mean, it is what it is. Just remember some of the other classes, but maybe you can catch a few details here and there that'll be a little bit fun. As I've talked about before in a few camps, this jiu-jitsu has kind of come full circle for me. I started out like as a 17-year-old Christian, wanted to learn how to fight. And then after a few years, I realized I'm probably never going to fight anyone, and that would also be kind of stupid to do. And it's probably not healthy either to think about like street fighting all the time and like sizing people up and looking for weapons just in case anything happens. You know, it's like, that chair might be good, but it doesn't have a good grip. You know, if I have to lift it, like it's just like pure fantasy, like teenage fantasy. And I was like, oh well, I guess especially like living in Denmark, you're never ever gonna even see a fight unless you really look for it. So at some point I was like, this is kind of stupid. I was like, I'm not gonna fill my head and my mind with these things. So that was the beginning, and then that kind of naturally moved into MMA because there's like, oh, here you can actually kind of get some of that out of your system without having to look for street fights. I can't believe I'm saying that. Anyway, so I did MMA for a while, and that was really fun, but then comes a time where you get tired of getting punched in the face every single day by people who are younger and stronger and want it more than you. So, and that's usually where jiu-jitsu comes into the picture, because then you can still kind of fight and compete without, all the pain in your jaw and like, all you get, like 20-year-olds punching me in the face every day is not so fun. So I competed in jiu-jitsu for many years and was like super active on like coaching and competing. And so I did that like full circle of it, like gi and no gi, and now I'm more like, I ended up being like a kind of a hobbyist jiu-jitsu dad. I train like 2, maybe 3 times a week with a group of beginners, and I can't really compete because I don't have time for it, and I live in the middle of nowhere with nothing around us. So jiu-jitsu for me now has a different kind of, my approach is different now than all of the other kind of phases I've been through. And I at some point, like the last few years, I started to take jiu-jitsu means the gentle art, right? And I started to take that a little bit literal, as in, I try to make, it sounds a little bit silly, but I try to make art, like, gently. So when I roll, I don't really, I like to do competitive rolls with people I know and like my friends at home. We'll go try to kill each other now and then, which I think is super healthy, and you should do that all the time. But my approach, especially at the camps, are more like, it's an overused analogy. But if you think about like surfing, you know, every opponent or every partner you roll with is like a wave, you know. Some waves it'll just smash you, and you try to not die and hold your breath. Some waves are like you can barely stand up and do something, and some of them you can maybe do a few cool tricks. Right? It's like achievements in computer games. They're like worth nothing, but sometimes you can, I did this, and you feel like you accomplished something in your life. Or jiu-jitsu does. So I kind of approach every role as I just want to try to create something cool. You know, I just want to pull something off. It's the difference between, you know, if you're let's say you're snowboarding or something, you try to go as fast as possible down the mountain, or you are in like the fun park and try to do tricks, and you fall all the time, and sometimes you get injured, but now and then you just stand up for 2 seconds and you feel like, that was cool. So that's very much my approach to rolling at the camps, is I try to pull off like super silly shit, because it feels fun. You know? And I also don't burn myself out by rolling way too hard with everyone, which would make it impossible for me to roll with as many people as I do for every camp. And also I like to kind of set the atmosphere of the camp. If I come in as like, hey, everyone, welcome to the camp, and then I just kind of try to beat everyone as much as I can, maybe that would create the wrong atmosphere at the open mat. You know? So there's many aspects of it, but all in all, I just try and pull off tricks. I'm like a kid in the skateboard park in jiu-jitsu. Huh? So this class will be some of the tricks that I actually pull off. I don't know if you can ever do it or not, but maybe you're just entertained for an hour, or maybe you can remember a few things. I don't know. But I'll show you a few things I do. So you have earrings. That's a bad idea. Can I use you? What's your name? Sorry. Jeremy. Welcome, Jeremy, to the skate park. Okay, so on your back. Right. So it's just like a mix of random things that I'll do. And in general, and I think it's not like completely useless, because I'll actually use it to win in jiu-jitsu. I used to be really, I had a project one year. I lived very much like project by project every year. One of my years was I wanted to try and weigh 100 kilos. Just so, with no purpose really, I just wanted to, there would never be a boring conversation again if I could always bring that up. Hey, I used to be 100 kilos. Why? Tell me more. Okay, I tried really hard and I just couldn't do it. Like I ended up at like 92 or something, and I just couldn't gain more weight. I tried very hard, but anyway, that period, my jiu-jitsu was very different. I would just kind of, whatever I wanted, I just moved it. You know, I just put him where I wanted him because I was big and super strong. But naturally, I'm not very, very big or strong, so now I'm at my natural weight, like around 78 kilos or something. I have no idea what that is, 170 or something. So I can't force anything anymore. So my game is very much built on like confusing my opponent and like setting up traps and stuff. It's very much like chess. If we do the exact same moves, the exact same move can either be super, super easy or incredibly difficult to pull off, depending on who's ahead of the game, right? So the technique in itself is one thing, but it's really, I mean, you can say it's timing, but very much I think it's like who is catching up and who is leading the game. Yeah? So if I'm here, whenever he's catching up, if I keep doing that, whenever he's almost there, then I can almost do whatever I want. Right? But if I'm the one catching up on the game all the time, then it's really, really difficult to do the exact same things. Right? Imagine, like, just consider maybe going to mount. If I do this, imagine he has no idea what's going to happen next. I go to mount, and now he tried to escape. Just try to get on your side and pull. Right? We all know this is really, really difficult. Right? We do the exact same thing, but he knows I'm going to mount. Right? The moment I mount, he starts the exact same escape. And we all know it's almost impossible for me to get the mount. There's no difference in what I'm doing or what he's doing, but whoever is leading the game and can keep the other guy guessing is always having an easy time. Right? So this is what I try to take to the extreme sometimes. I mean, but I think this is the foundation of why I usually am better than jiu-jitsu than others. It's because I know exactly what's going to happen and they don't know what's going to happen. I set up like, I give them 3 options, 3 doors, and no matter what door they open, I'm right behind it. Like, yeah. Yeah. If you can play that game, you can pull up the exact same techniques. It's like, jiu-jitsu is not like rocket science, you know? Everyone can learn the movements, but if you can play that mental game and get in his head, then things are easier. So there are ways to do this with like real technique and then with like skate park tricks. Huh? So today we're just going to do silly things. So very much my game is based on just making him guessing. Right? So I do something that maybe he hasn't seen before or that confuses him a little bit, so I take a jump ahead of the game. And he's like, for a second, he's like, what was that? And he's catching up. And the moment he's almost catching up, that's when I do something else. Right? That's like my whole tactic of rolling. In this way, I can relax and not force anything, and also keep it a little bit playful. No? So, a random selection of things I do. We can just start from like side control. You all kind of know a usual knee on belly, which is a good position. From here, one of the things I'll do is just reverse it and go the other way. Just because this is something he won't see all the time. This is actually a very strong position that I'll use to hold people often. But here he's thinking a little bit like, what is this? This is not a normal position. Yeah? I can do this in many different variations. One, the nice one is just kind of across the chest, yeah, just to keep some pressure. Usually I'll maybe lift the pants or something, or put some pressure on his shoulder. These kind of unorthodox positions, it takes some practice to hold your balance. But the key really to keep your balance is to keep him guessing, right? If I do this and he's catching up, now it's easy for me, easy, but now it's impossible. The moment he realizes what happens and he kind of analyzes the situation, I can't stay there anymore. That's when I have to move, yeah? So, kind of reverse knee on belly, this is a weird position. I can put it here. Very often I'm going to turn his head, like that, yeah? Mm-hmm. Because that makes it really difficult for him to turn into me and escape on this side. Right, so you can move this. There's even a variation where I'll just go here. It's kind of weird. Like, this definitely makes him guessing for a second or two. Mm-hmm. You know? So I just kind of put the shin in the hip and I pull the pants and I keep a base with my hands, like that. If I'm long enough, I put my butt on his face, like that. Another variation I'll do from here, I do this all the time. If I turn the head, I can pull the elbow, and now he's kind of stuck both ways. And then as a little kind of achievement, I can see if I can keep my balance with two shins like this. But it's all kind of based off putting this knee as my base, and I move around. So I can be here, I can turn the head, I can have 2 shins like this, I can lift the elbow, go up here, like that, butt on the head. This is a really weird position. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so the whole game is to do something he didn't expect, that I've been practicing, keeping my balance in, and then make him guessing for a second until I move. Yeah? So let's try this first, and then we'll do the first switch. And we'll just switch between like a variety of weird positions he hasn't seen before. All right, and keep him guessing. Okay. I don't do the clap.
Now, drive right here, grab the pant leg.
I think of just trying to give up some bad just to think back.
Okay, so as I said, it takes some practice to keep your balance in this. But the balance is very much based on, you know when he's confused and when he's not confused anymore. Right? And I would say this position, actually, I use this all the time to just, sometimes I roll with someone and maybe I'm tired or they're really fresh or they're just like wild. This is a great position just to take a little bit of pace out of the roll. Just turn the head and pull the elbow, because now he's stuck both ways. So I think it's a very strong kind of pin. You can put this leg out if you want, but I just like to hold this. I keep him guessing a little bit, and if he's been like going super fast, this will take the pace out of it, and then I can roll a few more rounds that day instead of just going like this with him. Okay, so you do a weird position that you're better at keeping your balance in than he is at understanding, at least for a few seconds. And then you remember the mental game. I take a leap forward, and this is my level of, I don't know, my position. And he's like, what's happening? What's happening? And he's like, oh, I see. This is how it works. And the moment he's like almost there, this is when you have to go. You can't stay, right? Because then it's fairly easy to escape these positions. This is why these are not normal pins, because they're easy to escape if he knows what's going on. Yeah? So I'm here. So I have a few options to switch. From this one, this is almost like a classic. I can go here, and then the moment he almost is, like realizes what's happening, I'm going to put this hand on this side, and then spin around, do like a back kick. So I'll be here, maybe turn the head, and he's like, oh, I can feel like, okay, now he's starting to figure it out. The key is when you move your legs, you have to post your hands, or the other way around. Right? To move one end of the body, you have to post on the other end of the body. That makes it easier. That's why beginners do arm bars like this. Oh, that's actually fairly good. But the key to move your legs is to post on your hand. Right? Then you can move your legs easy. So the same here. I want to move my legs, so I have to post on my hand. If I post here on this side, I'm going to fall off. Yeah? So I want to spin on top of him. So I go here, I post the hand, and go behind. And look, you almost have to do like some kind of flick kick. If I go here and I just spin in a circle, I'm going to fall off. So that's why I post my hand like this and kick. And now I end up here. So this is the new thing to keep him confused. Right? Usually when I go here, I always try to lift one arm right away. And I have a pretty good base here. If you practice this, you can keep your balance fairly well here, because this is confusing, but there's a lot of pressure on the chest, like that. If you have a very pointy butt, like me, you can put it right on the lung, like this. And I always try to pull one arm up, just to make him think more, you know? This is not necessarily a good attack, but he's got one more thing to worry about. He's like, whoa, well, he's thinking, what's this? And even better, he thinks he looks confident, like he knows what he's doing. In reality, this is a horrible position, but I just look like this, huh? Chewing gum is better, like that. If I do that, if you look confident, you can do whatever the fuck you want in jiu-jitsu, right? So I pull this one up, and I look like I really have a great position, like this. I mean, you have a few attacks here. Sometimes there's like a triangle, there's an arm bar, silly stuff. But in reality, it's just like, you're just in the skate park, just trying to pull stuff up, like this. One hand on the mat is going to help you a little bit. I have like a tripod, but if you really want to try, you go like this first, and then you count the seconds. Every second is a point. Another thing I'll do from here is just go like this. And don't laugh when you do it, because then he's going to die. You go like, like this. Huh? Pull the hand up and go for a reach. Just to keep him busy. So he's like, oh, trying to catch up. Huh? But after 2 or 3 seconds, he's going to realize, oh, this is not a real choke. And then he's just going to try to get out. Huh? So you spin. Hand. And look at my legs. I don't just kick this. I go like a little jump behind. And now look for this arm. Pull this arm up. Right? This also looks more like an arm bar. So he's going to panic a little bit about that. If you're lucky, you know, maybe there's actually an arm bar. I'll take this now and then. Or there's a triangle. Right? Rounded triangle. But most of the time it's just being here. If I can't get the arm, the moment he pulls it out, I go here. And you have to look confident. There are things you can do. Chew gum, or another thing to look confident is always like touch your nose, like that. That's like the douchebag competition, you know. It's like get to mouth. Just like look at the scoreboard. That stuff, huh? Touch your nose, chew gum, say something to your friend, like this. Huh? If you want a little bit more pressure, try to go on the side of the lung, like that. That's off the chest. That's it. Huh? So this is position 2, like this, like kind of a weird thing. Sometimes I'm gonna go pull him up like this, for no reason really. But it's just kind of, if I can hold this, I feel like I did something in life. Okay, let's try it. Backspin. I call this the meat spin. You can look that up, meatspin.com.
Yeah, totally. Tape on your neck. A
lot of this is you make him guess, but you also make him a little bit uncomfortable. Right? If I go here and I close the hand and I only move this leg, my weight is gonna end up almost on his side. Right? There's not much weight on him. And it's not really uncomfortable for him, this. So you have to post the hand and then almost do like a scissor kick. Yeah, like that. So look, it's not just this leg moving, it's, see? Because now I land with the bony part of my butt right in his middle of his chest. And he's gonna be, and that buys you another half second to do silly shit, like this. Even just hold him. I do this all the time. And the mouth.
I don't tell you my safe word yet.
Oklahoma, it's Oklahoma. Or if his coach is saying anything, just. As I said, if you look confident, you can do whatever the fuck you want in jiu-jitsu. So let's try a little bit more. You have to land like right in the chest with your ass. So far, so good. Again, I must say, it takes a bit of practice to be comfortable in these weird positions. Yeah? Sometimes you spin, and this arm is right there to start attacking or do something. But sometimes it's underneath, and then you just have to deal with it. And again, if I'm here and I wait, it doesn't take long for him to figure out how to get out. Right? So immediately I have to do something silly, like this, or maybe even just pull him like this. For me, it's a bonus point if I can put my heels like that, just because it's kind of weird. So. And I mean, for him to get out, he pretty much have to like go that way with his head. Yeah? So if I pull the other way like this, I can kind of sit here for a little bit, and I just look at him like this. Yeah. And maybe the moment I break this, I go here. I had a very serious project for maybe 6 months, 1 year, where I really tried to choke people like this, and I ultimately concluded it only works in movies. So. Sometimes you can pull it off. You know where you can really do it? If you first cover their face in a gi, like this, then you can do it. I'll do this, or even hold the mouth. If they can see, they are too confident. They know, oh, this is probably not going to work, but if they can't see anything, then they panic. So put something on the face, from any position, like this, hold the mouth, or go like that. Anyway, enough of that. You spin, do something, yeah? Sometimes there's a nice arm bar, sometimes there's a triangle, sometimes there's nothing, like this. But key for being successful in this kind of, this thing is that you always know when to just default back to like real jiu-jitsu. Yeah? So, I do this, he's catching up. If I don't have time to switch to something else, I just have to go back, like proper side control mount or something. Yeah? So a big part of this is that you always know the exit, the proper exit. So when, obviously here, exiting is easy, just kind of drop, also, like this. From here, to get out of this one probably, all I have to do, put both legs on the same side. That's it, and now I'm back in safety. Yeah? Sometimes you're stubborn, you're like, I really want to stay here, it's fun. Yeah, and then he gets out, and maybe you're like, end on your back or something. So whenever you feel like, okay, he's not having it anymore, put one leg over, drop heavy, and you're back in proper position. Yeah? So practice that, plus we'll do one more. This is confusing enough for him for a second, but the next one is like ridiculous. So if I can pull this arm up, this is a position I'll get to often. By the way, getting to here, I'll just add that, I'll do that now and then from here. North, south. This is a good challenge. See if you can go and end up here. That's 2 points. Both hands on the same side, and go. And now immediately confuse him, yeah? Do something confusing. Now, anyway, I'm here. And I managed to pull up one arm. You can get to this next one from several situations, but we'll just kind of chain them together. I managed to pull up this arm, and he's almost catching up. The moment he's almost there, I move. And I just go here. And I sit like this. I call it the sofa mount. It's like sitting in a couch. I sit really heavy on the shoulder / chest, like side of the chest, and then keep this arm up. Right? Bonus points for heels, as always, like this, as we know. And some guys, they're just gonna like throw me off immediately, but with some people, I can actually sit here for a while, and it's just like, it's weird. Huh? Feet like this, and again, the moment he figures it out, he's gonna get out. But I just sit here for a little bit and try to do it. I actually trained with one guy in Costa Rica. I think you might not know him. He's a fairly big deal around that area. Fernando Moya, he's like ridiculously good. This is like his go-to position. And he beats everyone from this position. It's so weird. He just sits here and no one can get him off. I don't know how he does it, but most people can get me off eventually. But I can sit here for a little bit. Huh? Sorry, there's a lot of pressure on the breathing. So I sit here, and the key is to keep this elbow up. I'll be careful I don't fall backwards. So I sit like this and just hold it. Yeah. From here I have a few options. One, a generic option in jiu-jitsu, when you can't see his hand, there's always maybe you can get a wrist lock. Right? If you can look at his hand, you can barely ever get it. But if you can't see the hand, you can always be like here and just like a lobster. You know? Just do that. There's nothing more to the technique. You just kind of do this. Yeah? So you can always try that. If you sit here, you look at the hand, oh, it looks a little bit relaxed, and maybe there's a wrist lock. The common attack from here is I'll take this hand and kind of put it in my pocket, like this. And then I'm going to take both feet to the side of his head, and then I'm going to roll towards his legs. This is, there you go, rolling something. That'll also confuse him a little bit. So I go here, right, and I have one arm up, and I just try to sit like this. Yeah, wrist lock, hand in the pocket. Both feet goes to the side of his head, and I roll over my shoulders to the other side. I can hold on to it a little bit. Also style points for this omoplata, of course. You can pretty much do that in every situation where you underhook the arm with your leg, like this. Or even like he's escaping with an underhook or something, it's too high, and I go here. And of course, you need to know proper escape, just in case you lose everything. Yeah, so the escape is you go here, feet towards the head, hand on the hip, and then I look over my shoulder. And I end up in kind of like finishing a double leg side control. I know it's a lot of details, but it's what it is. 1, 2, or shoulder and the stomach, back to proper position. Okay, let's try. I'm sorry, let's try. So I know the submission is like you want to submit from all these positions. You want to get the rolling omoplata and all that stuff. But like submission is just a little bonus, right? Remember, you also get style points for the position. That's really the fun part. Sometimes you're like, yeah, I can get here, but I also want to submit it. It's like you got the cake. You also want the ice cream. Just take it easy. Huh? So for here, I don't really think about finishing. It's more like I just try to keep the position as much as I can. Let's say this one, and then the moment I kind of lose it, I go back to real jiu-jitsu. Go here, I spin, and I just try to sit here, and kind of try to read his, because I think this is a valuable skill in jiu-jitsu is kind of being able to read what he's like, where he is in this game. Like, is he almost catching up? Does he know exactly what's happening, or is he super confused? I need to know that all the time to know, can I move or do I have to hold? Can I take risk or not? Yeah? So I just sit here and I kind of try to look at him, like see what happens. And I will ask him often, do you know what's happening right now? Don't worry too much about like finishing. I know these are just like little options. But be here and see how long can I sit here? That could be a project for 3 months. You know? Just like how long can I keep my balance in this position? And then when I almost can't anymore, I dismount, I jump off. And then you can switch it up a little bit. You try to sit like this, and just see how long you can sit here for. Every round of sparring, every time you get to mount or something, you try to go here, and you just count the seconds, and that could be a project for a few years, easy. You know? The same here, just be ready. I know every time I show this, people here, and they always immediately start to do this, but the fun part is really how long can I sit here and keep him guessing. And pull that elbow super tight, lean forward, don't lean back. He's gonna just like, take me that way, thank you. Like this, huh? And then whenever you can't anymore, you go. So, Position before submission, yeah? There's one more. This is the worst one, I think. Maybe, I don't know. This is one of my the achievements of the computer game that is Jiu-Jitsu. And so I try to get to this position sometimes. You can go here from almost anywhere, right? But I try to get to this mount, like this. I think I saw this in like pro wrestling or something. It's actually a pretty good pin if you can get here. I just kind of escrape my fingers and then I lean like this. And of course you look at it. This is a really solid pin, to be fair. It's very difficult to get out. If I can get here, I just sit here. It could also be a setup for like a knee bar thing, but don't get too tempted by that. Just try to get there. How do I get there? I'm not actually sure. It just kind of happens. Sometimes I'm here and I step and go like that. Or often in a guard pass, again, create a situation where he doesn't know what's happening. So I'll just kind of jump my ass to his face. And maybe sometimes all I try to do is just get here. Like this. And hold it. Yeah? How to get out? Jump off, back to Jiu-Jitsu. Even from north-south, you can go. Looks pretty good too. I think the other ones are easier to get to because they really connect with side control, knee and belly, mount. This doesn't really connect with anything. You have to just go for it. But it's impressive if you can do it. Yeah, I got it. Get off. Switch. Pretend like there's a choke. There's no choke. Just pretend like this. Wrist lock. It's just weird breakdancing, to be honest.
Are you doing like a gable grip right there? For the legs?
Just gable grip or S grip. And from here you go right back to this. And at any point where it doesn't work anymore, get off. Try again another time. Huh? Okay, let's play a little bit. Forget the submissions a little bit, just try the positions. Take a position, hold it, feel the balance. Bottom person is going to give you a little bit of pushing, pulling, rolling. You feel it, takes practice. And the moment you almost fall off, you switch. Take another position. All right? So you keep them catching up. Let's try it. Go. So, it's the moves themselves and the positions are kind of silly. They're not standard positions by definition because it's not a strong position to hold anymore. But I think there's a valuable lesson here and something that's really good to practice. At least that's what I've been doing for a long time at the camps. Is I try to play this game of creating situations where I'm one step ahead all the time. And it doesn't have to be silly things like this. This is just like a fun version of that game. There's anything I do, I'll try to keep him guessing and catching up, because then the same techniques are going to be easier. And this is something that takes a lot of practice and like self-discipline to do. But if you roll with someone and you're much better, maybe, or even just like dominating the match, maybe that's not always the time for you to just win because you can. That might be the time for you to try and step a little bit out of your comfort zone in terms of positions or balance or your game, and just like see how much can I get away with. Right? It's an easy wave coming. That's your time to try and do just a little trick. See if you can do a little turn or something and see what happens. Yeah? And that's really where you develop like balance and confidence in extremes. Because jiu-jitsu, you're going to end up in some weird positions. Now that you have to keep a clear mind. And this is also very much the game I'll play pretty much all the time at the camp. Just try to get in my partner's head instead of trying to crush him. I will go super hard on with my friends at home who I train with all the time. But at the camps, I rarely ever do it unless it's someone that we've built confidence over a long time. Then we're gonna go hard and try to kill each other. But every time I go hard, I also lose 2 or 3 rounds that I could have done with that energy and roll with someone new I haven't met before. So I try to do this very much, like create situations to keep him guessing and keep him confused. And this translates very much into when I, roll to win, which is rare, very rare. In competition or competition-style training or fight for your life. It's probably never going to roll for my life, but just in case, And at some point, like when you get comfortable with this game and you start to do this and develop it, there is a point sometimes where you really break someone's complete spirit, like they really lose the absolute will to live in that round, and all they do is wait for the round to end. And that's when you can pull off the really, really strange stuff. Right? There's a point where you keep them guessing for so long that they are paralyzed. They're like, what should I do now? Nothing works, and they feel like they're just like trying to grab like thin air. You will feel this if you keep playing this. Sometimes you will get to this. You're like, okay, now is the time to really try to get some proper points in this game. Maybe turn off the camera. This is too stupid. Try to often to do like the weirdest pins I can come up with. So if I feel like, okay, this guy has given up and he's just waiting for the round to be over, sometimes I'll go here, and I can actually pull this off for a while. Just stand there and just see what happens. And this is I just count the seconds to hold that. But a classic, of course, is if he turtles up, which happens a lot. He's like, safe zone. Roll a little bit. Safe zone, and already he's been so frustrated with this roll that if he's fresh and he has confidence, no way I can pull this stuff off. But now he's broken. He lost his will to live. He's counting the seconds until the round is over. This is my time to shine. Yeah? So I will always try to like paddle on him first, like this, and just see how long I can stay. Sometimes you can stand here for the rest of the round if he's really broken. But often it's just like a second, and you jump off, and you try again. But that's a lot of points. That's like full, like 10 points. Without the paddle, a little bit easier. Just go. But if you can paddle first, that's better. Without hands. Get off, and then you're back to Eric's wrestling class, yeah? No, I'm not going to show more of it. Maybe if I roll with you and you feel like you've given up, then you will see some things. Okay, let's try for the last few minutes. Just try to put everything together. Also nice, I think, sometimes to loosen up and have a little bit of fun with jiu-jitsu. It's not always like, this is how you win. It's also, sometimes you got to go in the skate park and just do tricks. All right? Let's try a little bit for a few minutes. Play with everything. Let me know if you have any questions. And
We did the bell one first. We grabbed the bell. We tried to get up.
Okay, so I'd like to extend my apologies for this class. This is not my usual class, but I hope you still enjoyed it. And for me also, as I said, for me, jiu-jitsu is, at least at this point in my life, it's the gentle art. I just try to use as little energy as possible and as much like mind power to pull off cool things. I could probably do the same things with like full power and like just force it, but that wouldn't be feel like the same accomplishment. So every round of rolling is a wave coming. Some of them will absolutely smash me, so I almost die. Some of them are almost too easy. I spend no energy, and some of them you can do a few tricks and just kind of see what happens. And then at least I just keep going to one camp after the other and try to ride every single. I was about to say ride every person, but that's not. Let's keep calling them waves. Awkward. Open your key. Sometimes I'll just show this. Here. After you did the wave, pull this and see if I can stand up. This is really strange. Okay, I'll leave it with that. Thanks for coming.